Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 28 female, got engaged to my fiancé and decided to get married 10 months later to prepare everything we needed before our wedding day. We made sure that our wedding would be perfectly planned and nothing would go wrong. We got our suits and dress tailored, reserved the church and hotel for the reception, booked wedding organizers, as well as catering service and makeup artists. We curated a perfect gift and invitation for the guests and made sure that everything was all set before our most awaited day. However, a few months before our wedding, my mom urgently told me that my younger sister was pregnant. I was shocked, even though my sister was already at the right age to have her own family, because I knew how conservative our Filipino culture was. We were raised in a Christian household where we uphold the values that a woman should get married first before bearing a child. But what shocked me the most was when my mom told me to cancel our wedding to give way for my sister to save our family's name. And I felt betrayed, knowing that she cared more about what people would think instead of how I would feel. Apart from that, she then asked me to let my sister have everything we planned for our wedding, or else they wouldn't have a choice but to let my sister get married right after me. That caught me off guard. As much as I wanted to refuse, I was too scared to do so because we follow a wedding superstition in our culture that it was bad luck to be wedded in the same year as your sibling, as a dark cloud may envelop us with misfortunes. So I was left with no choice but to give up my wedding for my sister. My fiancé, who is, by the way, an American, was unhappy about it. But he has so much respect for me and our beliefs, so we talked it out and decided to just get married a year after my sister. But the entire year passed by and my sister's boyfriend didn't even propose to her. They had their child without getting married, which became a hot topic in our community for a while. But it eventually died down. All the plans we made for our supposed wedding were wasted. Aside from that, it caused us to lose a significant amount of our savings. Due to payments made for the reservations, we asked my sister and her boyfriend to pay at least half of our expenses because they couldn't afford to pay in full, but they didn't agree, arguing that they never benefited from it, so why would they? I knew that they were having financial difficulties, so I didn't push it further. My fiancé and I just dealt with our loss and moved on. I was lucky that my fiancé was too patient with all the drama, but I didn't want him to wait any longer. So, a year after we settled everything down, we decided to finally get married. We planned everything again and made sure that everything was set just like before. On the day of our wedding, everything was going perfectly until my sister's boyfriend interrupted right after the ceremony before we could even walk down the aisle as husband and wife. He pulled a ring out of his pocket and was about to say something on the microphone he just took from somewhere. I was sure that he was about to propose to my sister, who was seated in front together with her child and my parents. But before he could even say a word, I gestured to our wedding planner to call security and kick my sister's boyfriend out of the church for interrupting our wedding. My sister and my parents looked displeased with what happened and followed the boyfriend out of the church, but I didn't care anymore. My sister started running her mouth, but thankfully my relatives shut her down and dissipated the mess. We waited years for this day to finally happen, so I wasn't going to let anything go wrong. Am I the a-hole for ruining my sister's wedding proposal on my wedding day? Update. My family didn't talk to me for weeks after our wedding, but we were enjoying our newlywed life so much, so I didn't really mind. My husband and I traveled around the Philippines for our honeymoon, and we still got each of them souvenirs in every place we visited and gave them after we came back. My sister eventually apologized to me, and my parents started talking to me like nothing happened. But my sister's boyfriend still hasn't talked to us after that incident, but we're okay with it. We were happy with our married life, and we want to make the most out of it. You're not the a-hole, OP. If your sister's boyfriend wanted to propose to your sister on your wedding day, then he should have asked for your permission. He should have asked if you and your husband were comfortable with it, but he didn't. So I see nothing wrong with you asking security to send him out. Your parents going out with them is just as bad, to be honest. From asking you to cancel your wedding preparation a year ago to this. It seems they have a favorite child and that might not be you. I'm glad you are now happily married to your husband. I applaud him for being understanding and sticking around. I wish you two a happy married life. Story 2. I, 28 male, was with my ex-girlfriend for 2 years. We broke up in 2016 when I found out she's been seeing other guys behind my back. Around that time, she found out she was pregnant, but obviously there were doubts if I'm the father. I refused to be involved unless I knew for sure the baby was mine, but we never got confirmation. It was a stillbirth, unfortunately, and I never got to know who the poor boy's father was. The thing is, she named the baby after me. That was something I wasn't comfortable with, since we still don't know if he was mine or not. But I tried to understand she was grieving a baby, and myself too, sort of in a way. Haven't spoken to her in years. I'm with my fiancé now, and we are about to have our first boy in a couple of months. She wants our son to be a junior, and that's what we've said to some friends. No one has a problem except my ex, because she found out through some friends that I still talk to. She's pissed that I would even think about naming my child this when that's our son's name. First off, I told her we never got that confirmation, so stop saying he was my son. Also, this is the name we decided to give our child and not going to change it. My family, well, really just my brothers, think I'm being way too insensitive about this with her because she lost a child, and it's likely not easy seeing me start a family with someone else while also giving them the name of a dead baby. It's not like we are in each other's lives, so really how would that impact hers at all, unless she just stalks me and my family? Well, now it's like we're being assholes for not wanting to change our son's name for my ex, and she's telling everyone who will listen about this. Wanna be in the clear here. Am I being an a-hole? Not the a-hole, OP. If she had not been sleeping around at the time she got pregnant, it would be one thing, but she was. It was awful that the baby was stillborn, but you had doubts then, and now that it was even your child. You did not have a "it doesn't matter whose it is genetically" stance, and removed yourself from every aspect of her life and pregnancy. You didn't want him to have your name, and she did it anyways. You're not an ass because you want a baby you know is yours to share your name. And the more waves she makes about it, the worse she looks because she was sleeping around behind your back. If anyone dares to say anything, you may point that fact out and suggest they mind their business. Now for some comments. I understand she lost a child. I can't imagine how much that hurts. Claiming at this point that the child was yours is just wrong. She should have had DNA testing done back then. Naming her baby after you does not make him yours. You and your fiancé get to name your baby whatever you want to name him. Congratulations, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry she had a stillbirth. It must have been really traumatic. She named the baby after you without your input or any verification regarding the baby's paternity. You've moved on with your lives. Why your mutual friends need to keep her updated on your life is beyond me. Either they just do or answer her questions. Your relationship with her is over. It was over before the stillbirth of her child. While she may consider naming your firstborn after you selfish or insensitive, I don't think it should stop you. Apart from a few mutual friends, you live completely separate lives and have no contact with each other. You and your partner have picked out your baby's name. It's no one else's business but the two of you. I'm going with not the a-hole. The situation is clearly a shitty one. Not you having a baby, that's awesome, congrats. But the situation with your ex. I kind of feel like you clearly didn't know if the child was yours. She named the kid after you because either A, she wanted it to be yours and not the other possibilities, or B, to emotionally manipulate you. If you never knew if the child was yours and you didn't play any role in naming the baby, then no, I think you aren't being an a-hole. If you and your fiancé want to name your baby to be a junior, then do it. And honestly, when it comes to family names, a lot of people have kids with variations on the same name. My husband has 4 brothers and 3 of them have Michael in their name. I think as long as you aren't rubbing it in her face or interacting with her, then you are more than okay and not a jerk. Story 3. My husband and I, 56 and 55, used to be petroleum engineers and retired young at 35. We have 3 children, 30 male, 28 female, 27 female. We bought each of them houses, but some are worth more than others. 30 male received a $180,000 home bought in 2010. 28 female received a $130,000 home bought in 2011. 27 female received a $340,000 home bought in 2016. Numbers aren't exact but almost there. Why did our youngest get the most expensive? She at the time was pregnant with our first grandchild, and today they have 2 kids. These are our only grandchildren. My husband and I are in a lawsuit right now, and things are looking dire. We are not at fault, but we're against a larger company. I'd say there's maybe a 5% chance of us coming out of this ahead. I don't know if I should get into the details of this as it's irrelevant, but I want to reiterate we're not at fault. In the chance we lose, we're going to have to pay up a pretty penny. We've already given up hope of winning and are going to sell our house, but this isn't enough. We're thinking of selling 30 male and 28 females' houses and letting 27 female keepers, even though the first 2 could stay if we sold the third. We are prioritizing the home in which our grandchildren live. We've made mention of this to all of our kids, and all 3 incidentally are upset. 27 female wants to give up her home for the sake of her siblings, but all the houses are in our names solely. So we have the final decision. Our other 2 children haven't spoken to us since, and it's been 2 months. Are we the a-holes for prioritizing one child over other 2 solely because they don't have children of their own? 30 male has expressed 0 interest in ever having children. 28 female had her tubes tied already and is proudly child-free. This is irrelevant, but it shows through 27 female that these are the only grandkids we'll ever get. Would I be the a-hole for selling 2 of my children's homes? Edit. Just so there's a little more context, my children picked their houses, no budget. All 3 houses are pretty much the same in terms of features. It's the city that's different. My eldest lives in more rural areas and my youngest in a small city. We live in a rural area ourselves. We did spend more on our youngest due to the location, and it had to be more or less completely finished for the babies. A little more context about their work and etc. 30 male is a bus driver for the school board. He makes about $30,000 a year. 28 female works in a nursing home for special needs adults. She makes about $50,000 a year. 27 female is a stay-at-home mom, but her husband does computer work at a bank. I don't know his income. I would estimate $50,000 or so. I only know this information because we do their taxes for them. I don't have favorites. I just need to consider the reality of the situation. A household of 1 is more equipped to handle losing their home than a household of 4. Plus, our youngest has young children. They need to take priority. Don't you agree? They'll never be homeless. We have an emergency fund, admittedly, which was not big enough. When we sell our house, we plan to put a down payment on a new one, and whoever doesn't keep their houses are welcome to move back in. This whole scenario isn't happening immediately. We don't know any kind of time frame, but I imagine over the course of years. Now for some comments. You are the a-hole. You bought their homes, I'm assuming as a gift, and now you somehow got into a lawsuit and you're having money issues, and you're just going to rescind those gifts. That's no bueno and really crappy. You should be dealing with your money mishaps yourselves like adults. Not pulling the, well, I bought these, so now I'm taking them back because they were bought with my money. You are the a-hole. Talk about favoritism. People's lives aren't less valuable because they haven't reproduced. For F's sake. But that is the message you have sent your 2 child-free children, both with the difference in home values and the fact that you want to sell 2 homes only. No wonder they aren't speaking to you, and very poor financial planning for people who were allegedly fortunate enough to retire so young. Why not transfer the homes into the children's names so they are no longer your assets? You're the a-hole. Your children are adults, but you're refusing to listen to the words literally coming out of their mouths. The adult woman with 2 children has told you that she's fine with you selling her house. Unlike you, she's unhappy at the thought of her siblings becoming homeless. Given that she's an adult, perhaps you should trust that she has a plan in place for what to do next. I doubt that walking into a homeless shelter is part of it. You are also the a-hole for directly tying this decision into the reproductive choices of the 2 children you want to make homeless. By talking so much about grandchildren, tubes being tied, and being proudly child-free, you seem to be saying that your children's only worth to you is through their reproductive choices. You should check local laws too. Yes, the houses belong to you, but what does the law state about selling a house with a tenant? Do you need to go through an eviction process?